Recorded Books presents an unabridged recording of Buster Midnight's Cafe by Sandra Dallas, narrated by Cynthia Darlow.
Chapter 1. You want to know about Butte, you go over to the 24-hour Jim Hill Cafe and Cigar Store on Silver Street and ask for me and Whippy Bird. The lunch counter, not the bar, since Whippy Bird doesn't drink anymore, not after she got half of her stomach taken out. Whippy Bird can't eat very well unless she lies down. When I get invited to her house for dinner, she serves it in the bedroom where she can stretch out. With real company, she lies down on the couch. But me and Whippy Bird have been family all our lives, so we eat in the bedroom. Whippy Bird, I say to her, you have more fun in that bed with a pork chop than you ever had with your husband's. And she laughs and says, You're right, you surely are right, Commander, though I surely am not. Everybody knows the Jim Hill on Silver Street. That's because there's a big sign in front that says Jim Hill Cafe in pink neon. Even without the sign, you'd know it was special. The front is covered in stainless steel, just like an old North Coast Limited streamliner. And in the window is a blue neon champagne glass with pink bubbles coming out of it as flashy as May Anna's diamond earrings, which she left me in her will. Classy. That's what I told Whippy Bird the first time we saw the Jim Hill all spruced up like that. Whippy Bird, that's classy. Just like May Anna's house, I said. Of course, that was 40 years ago when people knew who Jim Hill was. Now people think Jim Hill is Joe Mapes. Sometimes Joe Mapes even gets confused. Whenever a customer calls Jim, he answers, Yo! I doubt Joe even knows who Jim Hill was. That was the name of the restaurant when he bought it in 1964. He didn't have the money for a new sign, then or now. I don't know how the word got out to the tourists about the Jim Hill being the place to learn about Butte. Maybe it's the newspaper people from back east. Every time some paper wants a story on Butte, their boys come whipping into the Jim Hill and say, Hi, I'm a reporter from the New York Times, like we're supposed to swing around and fall over backward off the stool. Then they ask a couple of fool questions like, will the price of copper go up or down? How the hell should we know? Then they go back and write us up like we're cuter than a bug in lace pants. Local color, it's called. You've seen those stories. They quote me and Whippy Bird, then they tell you Montana's so quaint the governor has his home phone number listed in the telephone book. I asked Whippy Bird once if that was true, and she said she didn't know. She didn't have any reason to call up the governor. Maybe all those tourists read about the Jim Hill in the newspaper stories, or maybe they read about it in Hunter Harper's book, which you might have seen. Its title is That Hellhole Called Butte, which I think is a stinking name. Nobody but Hunter Harper ever called Butte a hellhole. I never liked Hunter Harper much, and I hated him after that book came out. He hangs around the Jim Hill counter sitting on the corner stool with his legs crossed, smoking one of those little cigars, the kind that look like you can't make up your mind if you want a cigarette or a real stogie. Hunter Harper wears Levi's and boots and a hat that's too big and a yellow kerchief around his neck. He thinks somebody might mistake him for a cowboy. But anybody who knows cowboys knows yellow scarves are bad luck. I started reading Hunter Harper's book, but I never got to the end. It's just made up of stories he picked up around the Jim Hill that he never got right. He tries to sound like he's one of us, but he isn't. Nobody who grew up in Butte uses words like heretofore and built environment. You have to have a dictionary just to get through the first page. Of course, Hunter's not a Butte native. He's just a summer person who teaches history in Iowa the rest of the year. Folk history, he calls it. Us being the folks, I guess. I asked Whippy Bird if he was a queer, but she didn't think so. Not that we care. Butte had sissies, as we called them when we were growing up, but not very many. It isn't a good idea to be a fairy with all those miners and tough cowboys in Montana. It's a funny thing about tourists. They come here to see us, but they really don't want to get to know us. They want to find somebody who's like them.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?